Mother-in-law moves in my house. And a few days later, I find her napping in my bed. So husband sits me. She was napping in my bed, her snores rattling the walls of my sanctuary. Margaret, my mother-in-law, had invaded my home like a general claiming territory. And now here she was, sprawled across my Egyptian cotton sheets. I stood in the doorway, heart pounding, wondering how my life had spiraled into this sitcom-level absurdity in just 3 days. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. My husband, David, had come to me a week ago, his brown eyes wide with that puppy dog plea I could never resist. "Mom's been lonely since Dad passed," he said, voice soft, hands fidgeting. "She's selling her house." And I thought, maybe she could stay with us just for a bit. I should have seen the red flags. Margaret wasn't just lonely, she was a force of nature, a woman who rearranged furniture and lives with the same relentless energy. But I loved David, and I wanted to be the supportive wife. So I said yes, picturing a few weeks of shared dinners and maybe some bonding. How naive I was. The first day, Margaret arrived with 3 suitcases and a cat I didn't know she owned. "This is Mr. Whiskers," she announced, setting the fluffy beast on my pristine white couch. "I'm allergic," but she waved off my sneezes with a laugh. "You'll get used to him, Sarah." Toughen up by evening. She'd reorganized my kitchen, tossing out my organic spices because they were too fancy and replacing them with dollar store seasoning packets. I bit my tongue, telling myself it was temporary. David, meanwhile, was thrilled, oblivious to the chaos brewing. "Isn't it great having Mom around," he'd say, grinning as he ate her oversalted meatloaf. By day 2, the invasion escalated. Margaret took over the living room, her soap operas blaring at all hours. She borrowed my favorite sweater, stretching it over her broader frame, and left dishes in the sink with a note: "Sarah, you're so good at cleaning. My patience frayed like cheap thread." I tried talking to David, but he'd shrug, saying, "She's just settling in. Give her time." Time she'd already turned my home into her personal kingdom, and I was starting to feel like a guest in my own life. Then came the breaking point, day 3, the moment I found her in my bed. I'd come home early from work, exhausted from a long day at the marketing firm, craving a nap in the one space that was still mine. But there she was, Margaret, sprawled across my side of the bed, her loud snores echoing, my favorite lavender pillow tucked under her head. Her shoes were on and on my bed, leaving smudges on the comforter I'd spent weeks choosing. The audacity hit me like a slap. This wasn't just about a nap, it was a power move, a claim on my territory, my marriage, my life. I stormed downstairs, my face hot with rage, and found David in the kitchen, sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. "Your mother," I hissed, "is sleeping in our bed." He froze, the mug halfway to his lips, his eyes darting nervously. "Oh, Sarah, I'm sure it's not a big deal. She probably just needed a rest." "Not a big deal," I could have screamed. Instead, I grabbed his arm and dragged him upstairs to witness the crime scene. Margaret was still there, now muttering in her sleep about needing more space. David's face paled, but before I could unleash my fury, he pulled me into the hallway and sat me down on the stairs. "Sarah, listen," he said, his voice low, almost pleading. "Mom's been through a lot. She doesn't mean to overstep. Can't you just let this go? Let it go." My blood boiled. This was my home, my bed, my marriage, and I was being asked to roll over while Margaret steamrolled my boundaries. I stared at David, the man I'd vowed to love through thick and thin, and saw a stranger choosing his mother over me. The betrayal stung deeper than I expected, a sharp ache in my chest. I stood, trembling, and said, "This isn't just about a nap, David. This is about respect. And right now, I'm not getting any." The next few hours were a blur of arguments. I laid it all out: the kitchen, the cat, the sweater, the bed. Every grievance I'd swallowed came pouring out, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and hurt. David tried to defend her, saying she was set in her ways, but I wasn't having it. "This is our home," I said, tears pricking my eyes. "Not hers." Our Margaret, woken by the commotion, shuffled downstairs, her face a mask of innocence. "What's all this fuss about?" she asked, as if she hadn't just desecrated my sanctuary. I didn't hold back. I told her how her actions made me feel disrespected, erased, like an intruder in my own life. She scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're being dramatic, Sarah. It's just a bed." That was the spark that lit the fire. I turned to David, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "She leaves, or I do." His eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw real fear in them. Margaret, sensing the shift, started to backtrack, mumbling apologies. But I was done. I packed a bag and drove to my sister's house, leaving David to deal with the mess. The drive was quiet, the weight of my decision settling in. I wasn't just leaving my home. I was drawing a line, demanding the respect I deserved. At my sister's, I spent the night replaying everything. Was I overreacting? Was I the villain for standing my ground? My sister, ever the voice of reason, poured me a glass of wine and said, "Sarah, you're not wrong to want your home to feel like yours, but you need to talk to David, really talk." She was right. I texted him, asking to meet the next day. When we did, at a quiet coffee shop, he looked exhausted, his usual charm replaced by a weary slump. "Mom's moving out," he said before I could speak. "She's going to stay with her sister until she finds a place." "I'm sorry, Sarah. I didn't see how bad it was for you." His words were a start, but I needed more. We talked for hours, laying bare the cracks in our marriage that Margaret's presence had exposed. He admitted he'd been avoiding conflict, hoping it would all work itself out. I admitted I'd bottled up my feelings too long, letting resentment fester. We agreed to set boundaries clear, non-negotiable ones. Margaret could visit, but not live with us. Our home was ours, and we'd protect it together. When I returned home, Margaret was gone, her suitcases and Mr. Whiskers with her. The house felt lighter, like it could breathe again. David and I spent the evening cleaning, reclaiming every corner. The bed, freshly made with new sheets, felt like a victory. But the real triumph was the conversation we had after. Promising to face issues as a team, no matter how messy. Margaret, I later learned, had moved in with her sister, where she was already rearranging furniture and causing her own brand of chaos. I almost felt sorry for her almost. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about a bed or a mother-in-law. It was about standing up for myself, for my space, for my marriage. It was about learning that love doesn't mean swallowing disrespect, and that boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to understanding. I hope Margaret learned something too, but I'm not holding my breath. What do you think? Was I right to draw the line? Or did I take it too far? Share your thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Into 'em.